Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Deep Dive. So today is a slightly different one. We're going to be talking about two effects that have just hit the market, and they are from a creator that you may have heard of. His real name is Harri Harrington, but he goes under the name of Lord Harri. This guy is a worker, he's out there gigging, and he produces and creates very commercial effects. You're going to see two of them, and we're going to talk about two of them during this deep dive. As always, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you will be notified every single time we go live on our YouTube channel. And if you are over on Facebook, pop over to Alexam Magic Limited and give our page a like as well, and join us for the weekly live shows. Anyway, without further ado, let's introduce our special guest for today, Lord Harri. Hi Harri, how you doing?
I'm good, yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I know you're a very busy man, so thank you so much for finding the time to join us. If you weren't here, we wouldn't have had a deep dive this week because I've been holding out for you, and I know you've been busy. So, Harri, for anyone that doesn't know you, give us a bit of a synopsis of who you are, where you've come from, how long you've been in magic. Give us a bit of background into Harri Harrington.
Yeah. So my name's Stephen, believe it or not. I'm actually Stephen Harrington, but uh, Harri, the name came for being in the military, and everyone calls me by surname. But Harrington's too long, so they always just called me Harri as a short version.
Right.
Magic wise, I never was into magic. I've always liked it. I was always interested, but I never really went down the route of having a kit or anything like that. So I only got into magic late on is when I first left the military and I moved to Wales. That's when I really needed to try and find something new because at this point I was kind of all over the place. I didn't really know what I was doing with myself. And then I came across a couple of YouTube videos, and that's how I got into magic, really. Then straight
Wow.
away, there was a pub down the road. I started getting into performing or just performing for people because I never had the anxiety of breaking the ice or speaking to people. I never had that because I was a
Yeah.
medic previously. I had to win people's trust over very quickly and be a character that people can relate to.
Yeah.
So I called it the chameleon effect, believe it or not. It's like when you disguise your personality a little bit to match other people, and then
Yeah.
once you're familiar, you can come out your shell a bit more. That's kind of what I was doing a lot. So getting into magic was really, really easy. And then, yeah, performed, started getting into it more, found out about companies that were selling tricks. It was all new, absolutely all new. And eventually, when I started picking up some tricks, I then thought, well, maybe I can do something a bit more with this. And that's how the name Lord Harri came. I met some incredible people like Nick Stein, who first of all gave me a checklist of what I
Yeah.
needed to go through, what I needed to master and learn. And once I had that, then that would be enough for me to actually start performing and getting paid for it. So I had all this great guidance really early on, which led me to the places that I've ended up in. And then I befriended Kieran Johnson
Yeah. The
and kind of
legend.
forced forced myself on him. I think a little bit. I really did force myself on him. I was like, "You will be my friend. I want to be you." And through him, I met Steve Rowe. I met Cyrus, and there's all these people that started coming into my life then, which really helped me. And yeah, before you knew it, the first Blackpool was coming up. I'd never attended Blackpool before. I didn't even know it was a thing. So I ended up going to Blackpool, and I had to, or wanted to, leave an impression, and that's how the Bang Sharpie came out, the first thing ever. And yeah, sat and picked it up shortly after, which that was it. That's kind of what got me straight into magic.
So that was your first release, the Bang Sharpie. So
Yeah,
that
that's right.
was the Sharpie that exploded, which was a great gag. You know, I remember
Mm.
talking people talking about it at Blackpool. You made an interesting point there, actually, about finding a magic shop or magic tricks, and you didn't know things like this existed. The amount of
Yeah,
people that come into Alakazam like lay
Mhm.
people that are just passing or getting there. We've got a garage over the road, so they're getting their car serviced. They're out for a walk, popping. Oh, I didn't know. You know, you could buy magic tricks. People
Yeah,
don't know. It's such a weird thing. So, how long have you been doing magic? Because you're relatively new on the scene.
yeah, yeah. I probably am approaching my 8th year now. I would probably say, come summer now, it'll probably be my 8th year that I've actually done magic.
Yeah,
I took, I learned for a year, then had a horrific gig, really bad gig, my first one ever, because I didn't know sleight of hand. So then I took a year break
yeah.
and I just absorbed all sleight of hand possible. So then coming back, I had 2 years worth of kind of half performances, but a lot of practice. And yeah, I've been performing them for 5 years, realistically, properly, really getting paid for gigs, trading, and all that kind of stuff.
See that's great, and it's you know I it's a bit weird having a really bad gig as your first one. Harry's first professional gig was not your one, my son.
Yeah, yeah,
His first professional gig was most probably the worst gig you could imagine. I mean, whatever could have went wrong, not trick
yeah,
wise, but just spectator management and drunks, and it just weren't good. But on the flip side of that, I said to him, one, you learn a lot during that gig, and two, it's only up from here.
of
So
course.
in a way, it's I think it can make you go either way. You could literally
Mm,
just go, I can't do that again.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
getting out of this. Or you, like you did and like Harry did, you go, all right, I'll learn from it and
yeah,
do
yeah.
something about it. It's a
It was
brave move.
horrific.
Yeah,
I remember it. I remember it so well, and it's just the naivety, because I'm super naive, right? I really am. And going to my first gig, I thought I needed to have one of those beautician cases, the big ones that open up, and you got the little
yeah,
jaws that slide out, and they were full of gaff decks. So my understanding of doing a gig was, oh well, I just have a gaff deck in each pocket, and then I do one trick, I switch the deck out, and I do another one. And I got to this gig, and they had something like 20 members or 20 guests there, and they moved them from the room where they got married into this reception room, so to speak. And whilst we were in there, they put everybody in a horseshoe. That's the seat. That was the seating arrangement, and they just plonked me straight in the middle. So all my audience
wow.
were there, and I've had one gaff deck. So straight away, I've got 360-degree angle issues. I've got, I can't switch decks out. I don't do any sleight of hand at this point. Oh, it was
And you're
horrific.
and you're doing like a stand up show.
Pretty
They
much, yeah, just in front of people.
wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I was completely.
that's not great. I remember when I was gigging, I used to, especially when I first started off, I used to take, my case was huge. Like I
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
take with me, but I used to perform the same six tricks. God knows why
mm.
I took this case. It's like you move your whole house to this gig to perform an ambitious card and, and crazy man's handcuffs. um, but yeah, I feel you for that. Just being plonked in the middle when you're there to do
Okay.
a couple of close up tricks and they're expecting you to do a whole
Oh
parlour
god.
performance. So when did the creating come into it? When did you start creating?
Yeah. So I remember very, very well that early on there was a gentleman. I can't pronounce his or remember his surname, but he was running some online thing, and I can't quite remember what it was called. It was the Magic something. I don't think it was the Magic Cafe. It might have been. It might have been the Magic Cafe. I can't quite remember. But there was something for amateurs and beginners and whatever. And there was this
Right.
gentleman called um, Rico. I want to say his name was like Rico Tanico or something like that. But
Right.
he was a magician, right? And he took the time to have a chat with me. And whilst we were chatting, it was just showing me all this kind of stuff. And after that, I thought, oh yeah, just that chat with him kind of give me an insight into there's so much freedom in Magic that you can just explore any avenue, and there's no real rule written. So the first thing I played around with was, the burnt card that you get where you
Yeah.
like a matchstick, and and you kind of hold it near the deck, or it, the deck gets a whiff of a flame, and then all of a sudden the selection is burned.
Yeah.
This crazy thing. Well, I always thought there was a step missing there, and the step would be to have either the smoke or the fire absorbed, and it then to come out of the deck. So I ended up painting my fingers. You must know this really old trick of when you have the finger smoke.
Yeah.
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 So when you have it on the early stage, when you just made it, it's quite runny. So I was dipping the card sides in it. So then when I had the burnt card in the middle, I was able to rub the deck, and the deck started to smoke. And I remember that was the first thing where I looked at a problem for how can I add
Yeah.
how can I add value to this? And from there, things just started going further and further. Just all random things. I mean, nothing incredible, nothing. I remember NFC chipping decks of cards as well. Yeah? Like putting NFC chips and splitting cards so they all had different reveal, and lo and behold, somebody actually did release that a couple of years later where every card did have an NFC chip in it. But I was
Yeah.
just so mental, so much stupid ideas were coming out. But
The thing
yeah,
is,
that's
though,
kind of
it is being a creator. There's some people are just natural creators. They can just like they're machines. They're constantly boom, 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 boom. And other people are very much like you. I think your approach to it is pretty much the same as mine. You create because you're trying to solve a problem for yourself.
yeah,
That's the thing, and it's there's a lot of people don't create. Their minds don't think like that. They'll buy a trick. They'll do it exactly as it says. They'll use the same
yeah,
lines, and that's fine. But I'm very much like you. I will take something. You sort of play a bit for a bit, and you go, oh, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't this be nice? Wouldn't that be? And your mind's always thinking a little bit further. And I think that's a good way to create, because you're not creating for creation's sake. You're creating to
yeah,
to create something for you personally, for your performances, or to improve something you're already doing, which I think is really good. And you've got two effects that have just hit the market as well, which we're going to show the first trailer in a moment, and we'll speak about that for a bit.
okay,
So these are both very, very commercial, and you can see on both trailers as well, you've got a lot of live footage. So were these effects devised by you for you? Were these things that you wanted to add to your performance, or are these things that you just thought, oh, this is a great idea, produced it, and then went out and worked it? How did that come about? Was it for you first, or did you fall in love with it after?
First. No, it was for me first for sure. So I mean, there's two different angles on this. These tricks were both born from two different timelines for me performing. So the first one, which is the little helper, that started by meeting a gentleman called Bob Hume who was selling these little mini hands.
Yeah.
He was producing these, I think, for years at this point. And I bought a couple off him because I really liked the card reveal and it had relevance to what I was doing. But it only started on online shows in lockdown where I started using it a lot more. So I had it beforehand and I was doing stuff with it, but I wasn't heavily doing it all the time, but I had it at this point for, well, it must have been 2 years or something like that. Or coming to lockdown, I started making it appear out of an image of my phone because it was great for lockdown. I had to adapt how I was performing this, and I didn't want to just get rid of the trick. I wanted to keep doing it, and also I had just had a baby in lockdown, so it kind of made sense to put those two things together, and that's where it really jumped up. So now, I mean, it's grown and grown into this absolutely lovely piece, and this Blackpool is where everything started coming together. Where Bob kind of said, I'm no longer in the magic market anymore. I'm taking a step back. I don't know what to do with it. He then, gave me the permission, sold me almost the rights to his effect, taught me how to make everything. And then, I approached Bob Farmer, and
Yeah.
Bob Farmer gave me the permissions then to license it. So it just blew up then. And it's I mean, I love this trick, and I've been performing it, must have been 4 or 5 years, but realistically with the image and everything, that's definitely been 3 years constantly, And Minify, Minify was a really, really funny one actually, because I've been performing the routine that you see in the trailer in a moment. I've been performing that again for must be 4 or 5 years, must have been very early on when I started into magic. It was one of the things that I loved, and it's
Yeah.
because I picked this up from a YouTube video. So when I then started doing, as of last year, and I did the Magic Circle lecture, this was a lot more to magicians. So a lot of magicians were watching it, some of my friends of mine. And Kev G watched that lecture and then messaged me a couple of days later. And he said to me at the time that he loved the trick with the mini card, but he wanted to be hands off. So he actually started thinking of how we could divine a way in the method, and he came up with what the gimmick is. And then when I played with it, it was just ridiculous because you've got this absolute, I wouldn't say slight heavy, but this very intense version of loading a card in. You can't have the deck shuffled. You have to get a specific card. You have to have it set up. Whereas now we've gone from all of that to just having the gimmick in the deck. It can be shuffled. You can immediately find the card, you can force it, it gets shuffled again, and whenever you want, you just reveal it. And it just was so hands off. It was incredible. So I said to Kev, listen, we need to do something with this. I mean, we could absolutely, I think, push this to the market because it's just so good. And that's how it came about, these two effects,
That's brilliant. I mean, the one with the hand, the Minify, not Minify, Harry's Little Helper. There have been so many people that have done things with the little hand. Michael Lamar was famous for it, but the picture aspect to it sort of makes sense to what it is, because it's always one of those things where you just go, oh, I've got a little helper, he's going to steal the coin. Oh, there he goes. And it's nice. It's a shocking moment, but you've actually given it a premise. You've given it that bit where they see the picture and then a hand comes out and their minds connect the two things. Now, even though we all know and they know that hand hasn't come out that picture, for a split second, they will be wondering, because it's such an odd thing. You've given it a purpose to come out, to appear. Which I think is very clever.
James Keatley, we went to Leeds quite recently, and on the way home, James Keatley said to me, oh, wouldn't it be great if you could do something else with the picture, like animate the picture? Because he was talking about Joe Miranda's Equalizer product, and he said, oh, you should have this and add it together. And I kind of thought, well, I don't really need to have this in order to achieve what it is you're suggesting. So now the picture, for certain people in the right moment, I actually use a video which has been voiced over by my daughter. So now she actually talks to me and engages with me whilst I'm doing the trick, and then she tells what the card is and the hand comes up, which is hilarious, there's a lot of scope for this.
That's brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we have a quick look at the trailer, and then we'll come back and discuss this effect a little bit more. And then we'll take a look at the next one. But let's start off, seeing as it was the first one, with Harry's Little Helper. And by the way, I didn't know your name was Stephen. I thought it was Harry.
No one does. Everyone now knows. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
Giving myself up.
Right, here we go. Here's the trailer for Harry's Little Helper.
The two of diamonds! Was it the two of diamonds? Yes! Phenomenal! Yes! Lord Harry back again, this time with a new trick. This one is fun, personal, easy to do. It's Harry's Little Helper. The 2 of diamonds! Is that the card? Diamonds! Is that the card? Oh, thank you. Yes! 2 of diamonds! Thank you. A card is chosen, returned back to the pack. The cards are put in the box. You bring out an image from your phone. The spectators will compare your image with the cards that they just used. Then whenever you want, the card gets revealed from the image you've just shown the spectators. Just got it.
No!
The 2 of diamonds! Is that the card?
How did
Thank
you
you.
do that?
2 of diamonds! The 2 of diamonds! Is that the card? Thank you. Was that the card? So why does this hit so hard? Why are the reactions so good with this? It's fun, it's personal, it's full of laughter, and one thing you will always carry with you. It's easy to do, the gimmick is a one-size-fits-all, and it's instantly reset. Diamonds, was that the card? Oh, she's found it. She wants to show you. Two of diamonds! Right, thank you, that's perfect, yeah. That's the 2 of diamonds, is that your card? Yes, perfect! I know.
That's so good. And do you know what else I really like about it? And it did fool me the first time I watched it. And that is your cleanup. The phone aids the cleanup beautifully. The first time I watched that trailer, which was about a week or so ago, and you know when you've got it on, you're watching it, and you know I know what the gimmick is, and I watch it. I go, oh, yeah, it's great. And then I saw your hands, and I thought, well, where's that gone? And then I sort of when I watched it back, I'm going, how clever, because it's your cleanup as well. It's lovely. It's a great little effect, very, very commercial, and you can see from the reactions there that it's it gets a great reaction. The one thing I want to say as well is the hands are if they're Bob Hume ones, they're bigger than what people are used to with the little hand.
Yes,
they're a bigger hand, so they're far more visual. It's not that tiny little thing that would usually come out. It's quite a decent sized hand holding the card.
I mean, I just loved everything about it, really. So ever since I was introduced to Bob Hume, we were chatting quite a bit, and I think it was last Blackpool where he said, "Oh, do you want to take some with you? Could you see if you could, maybe sell some, whatever?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I can do that." And nothing happened with it because it wasn't. I never had thought it would become a product. I mean, at this point, my handling of it, I've been performing it, and I had all these different ways. There's so many fun ways in the tutorial. I talk about having it come out of the card box, and you can even. Can we show something? Can
100%.
This is the bit that I love. So when you take, if you don't want to use your phone and you want to use a card box, when you open it up, you can have the flat bit on the back just overlap a little bit, and you tilt the box back, and you can actually have the hand open up the card box.
That's nice.
And it comes up from the top, right? And then it goes back down and hides it. Yeah, and I just thought that was just beautiful. And there's just all these little applications that you can have with this little hand. But yeah.
So it's great. I mean, it's the little hand's always a great gag anyway, and it always gets a great reaction, more of a reaction than you would expect for something like that. Even when you do the vanishing coin with the hand, people do react to it. But the thought you've put into this, the thought process to make it into a commercial routine, it's now not just a little throwaway bit of business. It's a nice commercial routine with the picture. You've thought about the cleanup and everything, and you can see from that trailer, because there's multiple performances, you can see how honed you're not even thinking about it. You can see how often you've done it because you're not even thinking about it. Your hands just doing the move straight away, which is lovely. And it's one of those things that's the other thing with a lot of stuff that you produce. It's all pretty easy to do. It's just commercial. It's fun. It's an enjoyable routine, and it's all pretty easy to do, which is good.
Yeah,
really good.
It's weird. I love it. I mean, I never look at anything and go, "Oh, that's a product." But you know, when you've got something and you go, "Oh my God, I would love to share this with the Magic community because I want other people to have as much fun." That's when things start coming together, you know. But the mini hand routine, I've played around with it for so long, and I mean, I know where it fits, the angle wise. I mean, there's so many bits. There's hardly any angles. That's the thing, you know. Realistically, you could do it completely surrounded, and you've got nothing to worry about. So, yeah. And I was very much like you when I started performing it. I was quite surprised of how strong the reactions were, and then when they did start coming, because some people really freak out and they go, "Oh, that's really weird." So I have a lot of those people, but then I have just as many people go absolutely mental and clap and go berserk for it and think it's hilarious, you know.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I tell you what, we are running out of time, so we're going to have a look at the next trailer, and then we'll come back and talk about this. So this is Minify. Let's take a look.
Was the small card thing? It was the small card.
Good, because that is the truth. This is generally a small card. You shuffled these as well.
See, I told you it was a small card thing.
D9 of diamonds. So what is Minify? The deck is shuffled, a card is selected and remembered. There are no funny moves. The magician flicks through the deck, a playing card pops out, the selected playing card has shrunk into a mini card. Let's try it out. One card popped out. Now you said it would be impressive. I think you were genuinely telling the truth. I asked you, was it a small card? You said no. I think that was a lie because this, of course, is a small card.
You see, it's in fact the small card. Check it out,
Nine of diamonds! She shot. See, that there was a lie, because this is a small card. The special gimmick does all the hard work so you can focus on your presentation.
Lovely. Lovely.
That ending
So
with Kev.
yeah. So
Did
did you say it was Kev G that came up with the gimmick idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had the routine completely established, and Kev then built the gimmick and started adding his own variation to it. So Kev's performance is different. There's a lot of similarities until it comes to the end, and
Yeah.
then mine goes more of like a lie test detector thing where I'm asking you questions throughout the performance. And I think Kev plays on the words a bit more, where he says, was yours a small card? No, it was a small card because look, take it out. And so
Yeah.
his is like almost an immediate reveal, whereas I hold off for it a little bit. But it's because that's how I performed it for all these years. But it was his he made the gimmick.
Wow. Yeah, it's great. And Kev G, he's a very talented guy. He works a lot with a good friend of mine, Colin Klaus. They do their
Oh yeah.
Rubik's Cube stuff. Yeah, it's great. Well, do you know what, Harry? I want to say thank you very much for joining us on the deep dive. You got two great tricks there. They're both available from Alakazam, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that you're going to be joining us this year to give an academy on your commercial creations as well.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, good times, my friend. So thank you so much for joining us, Harry.
No problem. And thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome, and good luck with all your releases and your performing and everything else that's going on, you busy man.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having the time talking to me, and yeah.
Top man. Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Guys, so thank you for joining us on the deep dive this week. That was the fantastic Harri Harrington. You can check out both of those products on our website. You've got Minify and you've got Harry's Little Helper. Both amazing, commercial, easy to do products. So make sure you check them out. Remember, before you go, if you haven't done so already, why not? But make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified every single time we go live on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, go and give our Facebook page a like. And if you're on Insta or TikTok, give us a follow. I will see you next week on another deep dive. But until then, have yourself a great week. And thank you so much for joining us. It really does mean the world. I'm Peter Nardi. Until next week, have a great week.